this should be a place where people can trust sharing their mess. People are messy. I have a mentor of mine who says, when I'm around churches that look clean, it makes me nervous. Because everyone knows themselves for sure, and you know you're not clean. So does that mean everybody else is just perfect and you're not? No, this is a place where your mess can be trusted and prayed through. This is a place for, not for perfect people. One of the reasons I told our students a little bit about my love for senior adults this weekend, but one of the things I love about senior adults is they've lived long enough to realize that life is too short to be fake. So senior adults often just say what they want to say. And I kind of like that. I think we need to learn something from our more mature disciples in the church, because they know it's really not worth putting on a facade because none of it's real anyway. It's probably why none of them are on Instagram or TikTok. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Well, a great way to illustrate this point, it also could be because it's really difficult to use. A good illustration of this I've shared with some of you is found in Genesis 15, kind of the turning point of the beginning of the Bible. You see Abraham in chapter 15. He's already been told by God, I'm going to make you a great nation. I'm going to give you a place and a people that's going to bless the world. And he says, in order to signify this, in order to put my on this promise, he puts Abraham in a sleep, and when Abraham wakes up, you've got this row of animals that have been split in half. Now, for those of you PETA nuts in here, I understand it's kind of gruesome, but in this day, in this culture, if you wanted to make a promise, you did something called a covenant, and you would have to split an animal in half, and the two parties would walk through the split animals together. Now, what did that mean? At least two things. Tim Keller points this out, but it at least means that when I walk through this, if I don't uphold my end of the bargain, may I be split in two. That's how serious this thing was. And also, point number two, even if I'm going to fulfill my end of the bargain, even if it makes me split in half, even if I'm parted apart, I will uphold my end of the bargain. You know what's cool about that story is that Abraham wakes up and he doesn't walk through it. God's presence walks through those split animals as if to say, I'll uphold my end of the bargain, and when you fail, may I be split in two to cover the cost. There's the gospel in Genesis 15 already. That's the kind of culture of grace, truth, and love that we sacrifice ourselves for one another. How strange is it that we would have a Savior who is suffering on the cross for the sins of other people, but we would have a place that gossips about the sins of other people? That's not this church. And that shouldn't be any church. The second point that he makes, you're not just a chosen race, but he says you're a royal priesthood. Now, the wording here is interesting. I'm not a Greek scholar, but it's interesting to read what it really is saying is you're a palace temple. You are a palace temple. Remember, he's talking to a group of people. He's not just talking to one individual. I know we do that in America. Everything is Jesus calling. Jesus is talking to us individually, and it's all about me. This is to a group of people. It's to churches. It's like a setting like this. And he says you're a royal priesthood. You're a palace temple. And in verse 5, he says it this way. You yourselves, like living stones, are being built up as a spiritual house. So Acts 7:48 says, man, God's house is not built of brick and mortar. He's saying you are a spiritual house, a house that's alive. And so therefore, point number 2, you're interdependent. When you see bricks on a house or on a building, physically, they're interdependent on one another. And when you remove one, it destabilizes things. And it's really hard to replace, at least effectively. And so something I want to tell you, Hillcrest, is that when you are a part of this family, we miss you when you're not here. We miss you when you leave. We're not supposed to talk about that from the pulpit. People leave church. They get their feelings hurt. Somebody says something. I forget to call. Somebody gets offended about something. And it's probably something legitimate. It's not some small thing. But you need to know that you're missed. This is a place for you to know people and to be known. And when you're not here, we feel it. One of the things, I did some research on Hillcrest before I got here, and I talked to a lot about you. I talked to a lot of people about you behind your back, including some members, some staff members, and even some people who just live in the area that don't go to church here. They go to other churches. And so I just asked people, tell me about Hillcrest, okay? Because I'm in a great church. I don't want to leave it, but I feel like God might be calling me to this place. I want to know about this family over here at Hillcrest. What's going on over there? And I'm pretty skeptical. I have a healthy skepticism of every church and of myself. And so I'm like, what is this place? And so of all the things that they said, what was consistent throughout everyone's reports? Was that Hillcrest feels like a family.